Just repeating word in only seconds ago that US President George Bush has collapsed during a state dinner in Japan. We'll have more details as they come to hand. The federal government has begun the long task of hauling the Australian economy out of the doldrums. Banks and building societies are lowering their mortgage rates. It's dramatic news. As we reported earlier, US President George Bush has collapsed during a state dinner in Tokyo. He was rushed to hospital. CNN's reporter Charles Bierbauer says the president fell ill while meeting dignitaries.
He walked to the ambulance. We've been able to discern that, and the ambulance was, I believe, Keio Hospital here in Tokyo.
Mrs. Bush stayed at the dinner, and we're still waiting to hear about the president's condition. Just repeating, US President George Bush has collapsed during a state dinner in Tokyo and was rushed to hospital. Gunmen have opened fire on demonstrators in the Georgian capital of news. US President Bush has collapsed at a dinner in Japan. CNN reporter Charles Bierbauer is on the scene and has just filed this report.
President Bush has returned to the official guest house here. That's the Akasaka Palace. He has not gone to the hospital. We were getting some misleading information earlier, and we certainly apologize for giving any sense that he'd left for the hospital. We saw an ambulance via television pulling away from the residence of Prime Minister Miyazawa. What we know is that President Bush, at the dinner being hosted for him by the Prime Minister, felt ill. Apparently felt ill enough that he thought he should leave the dinner. He was checked by his White House physician, Dr. Burton Lee, not given any medication from what we are told, but the decision was taken that the president perhaps ought to get some rest and went, therefore, back to the palace. Left the prime minister's residence under his own power. He was walking. Correspondent Mary Tillotson, who was the pool reporter at the dinner this evening, reported that the president looked drawn and disheveled, but when she asked the president how he felt, Mr. Bush said he felt good. That notwithstanding, the information is that he is now presumably resting back at Akasaka Palace. The precise nature of the illness is not clear. I saw the president about 3.5 hours ago when I did an interview with him over at the palace. At that point, he talked about some of the rigors of this kind of traveling, said he is feeling the effects of jet lag, waking at some odd hours, felt it worst when he was in Australia a few days ago. This is now day 10 of a 12-day trip. So the president, we would presume now, is resting, and we hope to get more information from the White House in the course of the evening over here. That's about what we know at this point.
CNN reporter Charles Bierbauer. Before we go, US President George Bush has collapsed tonight in Tokyo. There are few details available. However, Mr. Bush fell ill while meeting dignitaries at a dinner in Tokyo. He was taken back to his residence. His condition is not yet known. We'll have full details in tomorrow morning's early edition news at 6:30. That's the second edition news tonight. I'm Sandra Sully. Good night.